This is a continuation of the last video I uploaded to my main channel called Bernie Feels the Burn and Gets Defensive on Live TV. I want to cover what the Young Turks actually said about this interaction between Bernie Sanders and Fox News. And guys, the reason I do this is I'm not trying to tear down the Young Turks. I'm not trying to tear down the people at CNN. I would love for one day the people at CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and the Young Turks to come around to free market principles and ideas so that they can start telling people about the evil that's going on with the IRS, with the Federal Reserve, all the banker-funded wars that we're involved in, all the military and foreign aid we give to other nations on our dime. I would love for them to come around to that. And do I have hope that that's going to happen? I don't know, but I just want to sow seeds of peace and goodwill. But at the same time, I mean, we need to realize that when somebody espouses the things that the people at the Young Turks espouse or what Bernie espouses, it's cancer and it needs to be exposed. And the people who promote these ideologies need to be exposed. So I'm not under any delusion that these people are friends, but I don't want to attack somebody on a personal level. This isn't what this is about, but we do need to call things out, and we need to call people out, and that's just part of life, is correction. And another thing we need to realize is that at one point or another in our lives, and maybe even now, we all suffer in some way from some form, some level of cognitive dissonance. We've all been a part of the cult of personality, where we back a person in spite of the fact that some of what they say, or a lot of what they say, or maybe just a little of what they say, is contrary to free market principles and ideas, and it espouses the initiation of force, unjust force, on people who haven't done anything wrong. And that's what I have a problem with. That's why I have a problem with democratic socialism or communism or what they call capitalism, which is really crony capitalism. And I'm trying to get away from even calling things capitalist and saying capitalism itself is good. Because I just tweeted out something on Twitter saying that capitalism itself has so many definitions, and people have so many ideas of what they think capitalism is, that it's kind of polarizing just to use that term. So one thing that I think we should all do is try to make things crystal clear. Wipe away the euphemisms. Wipe away all the disingenuous phrases that people like the Young Turks and CNN use. And just get to the bottom of the issue. Let's instead of calling it capitalism, how about let's just call it free market competition? And if any entity hinders that in any way, it is automatically not the free market. People say, well, Amazon is capitalist. Well, no, Amazon and Walmart aren't capitalist. They're corporatist because they benefit from the intervention of government. So let's just listen to Anna Kasparian as she talks about this interaction between Bernie Sanders and Fox News.
I want to begin by talking about tax cuts. During Bernie Sanders' town hall on...
By the way, tax cuts, that word, that's a euphemism as well. It's not really taxes, it's really theft. It's really extortion. We need to call things what they are. They're not taxes. It's a third party saying, if you don't give us your money, we will harm you in some way. We will either fine you or we will send men with guns to your door and we will throw you into a cage if you don't give us some of what you've earned. That's called theft. And by the barrel of a gun, it's called extortion. So it's not tax cuts, it's extortion cuts.
Fox News, the topic of tax cuts came up, specifically tax cuts for the wealthy. We all know where Bernie Sanders stands on that issue, but I'm curious to see how the questions were framed and how Bernie Sanders answered, knowing that he is in the lion's den. He is there with the right wing. What do they think? How do they react? Well, let's take a look at the first video.
And that right there is an effort on Anna Kasparian's part to, in her words, frame things into a left versus right paradigm. And I just want to remind you of something. This woman right here, Anna Kasparian, is the 1%. How much does she make? They say she's worth $2 million. I think it's definitely more than that. But her monthly salary is $50,000 per month, which is $600,000 per year. If you know anything about tax rates and income tax brackets, she is soundly in the 1%. And Cenk Uygur, basically the owner of the Young Turks, or at least a heavy co-owner, is worth, they say, $5 million. The research that I've done, he's worth 10 to 15, some reports even as high as 20 million, and he cuts himself a $2 to $3 million check every year. So he's probably in the top 10th percentile instead of the top percentile.
So I guess on Fox News, you said that I benefited from Trump's tax bill. Did you tell people that I voted against Trump's tax bill?
Sure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at this point. He still benefited and put himself down for, just a 26% marginal tax rate. When he's pushing for, and I talked about this in my last video on my main channel, he was pushing for a 52% marginal tax rate. Why didn't he add an extra 26% on top of the 26% that they made him pay?
But you did benefit from it.
But I voted against it.
Yeah, but he's still not acknowledging. He says, but I voted against it. He's still not acknowledging that he did benefit from that extortion cut.
And I happen to believe that a tax bill written and pushed by Trump, who told the American people that tax bill, some of you may recall, would not benefit the wealthy. You remember that? Oh, it's not going to benefit the wealthy. 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%. So I think that's a bad idea. And in my view, people, whether it's me, you probably make a lot more money than I do. But whether it's me or...
And Bret Baier does make substantially more, at least on paper, than Bernie Sanders. These people could be hiding all of what they, most of what they make. We don't really know what they make. But according to the numbers, Bret Baier is earning $7 million a year, and Bernie in 2016 and 2017 earned between 1.1 and $1 million.
You or anybody else, I think wealthy people and large corporations that are making billions of profits should start paying their fair share of taxes.
But Senator...
And that's, again, I said this on my last channel, that's a euphemism. Start paying their fair share. First of all, what is fair share? And the second thing is, you're not paying, when a thief comes up to you and puts a gun in your face and says, give me some of the money or give me all the money in your wallet, you haven't paid the thief. He took it from you. He threatened you with violence. If you don't give it to him, he's going to pull the trigger. So there's a difference between paying an employee to do a good job in your shop and paying a thief who's trying to steal money from you, money that he didn't earn.
I like that he's in their faces, though. I like that he stood up and he was like, let me tell you. And when he said, you probably make more money than I do, he smirked.
Yeah, that was good. Well, and because the host knows.
It's not the issue of somebody making more money. The issue is there's an international crime ring who has come against all people who earn money. I don't care if you earn $1 million, $10 million, or $26,000 a year. An international crime ring, the largest domestic cell on American soil, the IRS, is threatening you. If you don't give them money, if you don't give them the product of your laboring energies, they will in some way harm you. Who cares if Bret Baier makes more than Bernie Sanders? Who cares if Anna Kasparian or Cenk Uygur make more than Bernie Sanders? It doesn't matter who makes what. The point is there's a theft going on. There's a crime ring. There's major immorality going on. That is the issue. And no society, no just society can tolerate this crime ring.
That he makes millions of dollars every year. Yeah.
She kept her poker face on, but he cracked a little bit. I think he kind of likes Bernie a little bit.
I mean,
look like it.
I don't, because
who gives a damn who likes who? Who gives a damn who makes more money than who? The question is, what is right? What is wrong? Let's parse those two things and let's eliminate that which is wrong.
Because of the fact that they make all that money and they're worried about, having to pay more in taxes.
They make all that money. Look who's talking. She's a 1%er, guys. Don't think that she's not trying to keep all the money that she has earned. You think she's going to sit in the Young Turks studio for 10, 12 hours a day putting out these videos and not want to keep as much as she can? You don't think she hired a tax guy to try to get her to escape to get her out of the tax bracket that she's in? I don't care how much she makes. I don't want to see her taxes. I don't care how much she's trying to escape from paying. She shouldn't have to pay anything. She shouldn't have to be extorted $1 of what she's earned. If she earned it, good for her. If Bernie Sanders earned it, if Brett Baer earned it, whoever earns their money should keep 100% of everything they earned.
But I totally agree with you in that I love the way that he stood up, and it came off as authentic as opposed to the typical, let me roll up my sleeves, this is my opportunity to stand up now and do.
Came off as authentic. Bernie Sanders is a politician. Politician, the term politician is synonymous with liar. Who cares how genuine they came off? Who cares how authentic they came off? They're liars. This is a testimony to the fact that Ana Kasparian and all of the Young Turks are caught in the cult of personality. They're stuck, they're cemented in their own cognitive dissonance, and they can't get out. They cannot get out. Not unless the seed of liberty actually germinates and grows inside their hearts. That's the only way.
Like the walk, he wanted to get in his face and be like, okay, I might have a little money now because of the book, but did I change my policies? No, I didn't. Yeah. And I'm gonna.
Yeah, what policy was that? The policy of immorality. The policy that says, hey, if you make over a certain amount of money, then the government is sanctioned to confiscate 52% or 70%. Let's just say it's 5%. But these guys want a big chunk of the wealthy's money. And who's that going to affect? You don't think they're going to hire tax guys and try to figure out how to get out of this and push all those taxes on the little guy? You're crazy if you think that. You're crazy if you think that's not going to happen.
To keep pushing this policy of having a more equitable system, so people in the middle class and working class aren't paying a higher percentage of their income in taxes, while the wealthy and some.
How about eliminate the tax of the little guy? How about getting on the Young Turks and saying, you know what? At the very least, nobody should be quote unquote paying taxes. Nobody should be extorted. We shouldn't be pushing this idea of, hey, it's okay to extort some people, but it's not okay to extort these people. And if these people over here if the middle class and the poor are getting extorted, then we need to make sure that we up the extortion level for the rich. That's just utter insanity. Talk about building your society on the foundation of evil.
Some of these massive corporations like Netflix pay nothing in federal taxes. In some cases, they get a tax rebate.
Yeah, and why do you think that is? Because they look for loopholes because they're smart. You think any rich person, including, you know what, Anna, just be honest. Do you want to keep 100% of your $600,000? Do you want any money to be stolen from you? How about you, Jank? Do you want any money to be stolen from you? If you're honest, the answer is no. Are you going to look for ways, if at all possible, to have your tax guy, your CPA, massage the numbers so that you can keep more of what you earn? Of course you are. Of course you are. If you say that you're not, if you say you don't want to keep 100% of what you own, you're just a liar.
So you know what I want to say is that I really hope that people are listening.
I do too. I hope people are listening. I wish you guys would listen to what you were saying.
The people are listening, regardless of where you are in the political game, wherever you stand, that you're listening to the issues and what we're talking about as they, particularly have to do with your livelihood.
Exactly. My livelihood. If I go to work and I make $10 an hour or $12 an hour, do you think I want 30% of every hour that I invested my time in to be taken from me by force? And do you think I further want to be threatened with jail time if I don't give the tax collector what he thinks is his just due?
And I really hope that some people are able to listen objectively and say, because there are a lot of people who are not in the upper, in that 1% who fight for everything.
Some people in that 1%, like, I don't know how much she makes, But the person to the left of her makes at least $250,000 a year. That puts him in the 1%. Anna Kasparian's making at least $600,000 a year. Her boss, Cenk Uygur, is making $2 or $3 million a year. She's talking about them like they're some distant class of people when they're sitting right there in the room with her.
That is pro-Trump, you know what I mean? And they're not even thinking about how that trickles down to affect them.
Yeah. So things got even more personal because Bernie's taxes came up. By the way, Bernie Sanders did release 10 years worth of taxes today. That story broke while we were on air, so I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and read details about it. But
I haven't had an opportunity to find out that Bernie is in the top 1% that he's always speaking out against.
But with that said, Brett Baer and Martha McCollum at Fox did ask about his taxes, and here's how the conversation went. Take a look.
But your marginal tax rate was 26% because of President Trump's tax cuts. So why not say, I'm leading this revolution. I'm not going to take those.
Come on, we're doing. I paid the tax.
Bernie's speechless here. And like I mentioned on my last video on the main channel, Brett Baer, I have no love for Fox News. I have no love for the ideology that they put out. They play into the whole left versus right paradigm. But he asked a good question. Because of Trump's extortion cuts, you only paid 26%.
Come on, we're doing. I paid the taxes that I owe. And by the way,
I pay the taxes that I owe, but that's not what Brett Baer was saying. He said because of Trump, you had just a 26% tax rate, not the 52% that you say all who are millionaires should at least have to pay as their fair share. So the question is not, did you pay the taxes that you owe? The question is, why didn't you pay what you have always told us was your fair share? So double that 26%. Go to 52, Bernie. How come? How come you don't do it? But he's going to shove it off and start talking about something else. He's going to deflect.
Why don't you got Donald Trump up here and ask him how much he pays in taxes?
We're asking.
Did you see his chin kind of trot right there? He's nervous about this. He's defensive. He's deflecting. Watch.
Donald Trump up here and ask him how much he pays in taxes.
Or ask him anything about his taxes whatsoever because we don't know. There's a meme that you might have seen going around. I think it was by Matt Bors, and it's like a peasant who's saying, "I think we should improve society." And then it's another like troll popping his head out of a well saying, "And yet you participate in society. I'm very intelligent." Those attacks, it's so like Brett Baer is supposed to be one of the.
Those attacks. How is it an attack for Brett Baer to say, okay, Bernie, you benefited from a Trump extortion cut, and yet you didn't pay what you deem as your fair share? I know Brett Baer didn't say that, but that's the idea. How is that an attack? Just to ask an outright question. You benefited from a tax cut that you voted against.
Down the line, not opinion people.
And you took advantage of it.
He's supposed to be very intelligent. And he says, "Oh, your taxes were lowered by that. Why don't you voluntarily pay higher taxes?" He's an intelligent person who makes millions of dollars to analyze politics every year. And that is the level of sophistication of his argument.
But it's a valid argument. Listen to what he says. Listen to what he's condemning.
"Oh, your taxes were lowered by that. Why don't you voluntarily pay higher taxes?"
That's a good question. If you're constantly beating the drum of millionaires and billionaires paying at least 52% as their fair share, and you only pay 26% without adding another 26% to it, how come you didn't voluntarily relinquish what you're always saying is a millionaire's fair share? You've become a millionaire. Now you've become the perfect candidate to demonstrate how you think other millionaires should act, and yet you didn't do it. That makes you, Bernie, a hypocrite. And these people can't understand that, and they're going to condemn it as an attack. That's the level we're talking about here, guys.
He's an intelligent person who makes millions of dollars to analyze politics every year. And that is the level of sophistication of his argument.
But he never explains why he considers it a low level of sophistication in the argument.
And it's not just Bret Baier, by the way, and it's not just Fox News. There's been so many articles since it came out that Bernie Sanders might be barely a millionaire, that Bernie's a millionaire, and yet he's still...
Notice how he deflected that a little bit. Might be barely a millionaire. The point is he's a millionaire. The point is he's a 1%er. The point is he paid 26% when he's always saying that the fair share is 52% at the minimum.
Wants to raise taxes, as if like they've identified some sort of inconsistency, when what they've identified is 100% consistency. When he wasn't technically a millionaire, he wanted to raise taxes on the wealthy. Now it would affect him more, and yet he still wants to do it.
No. He doesn't want to do it because he's not paying it. So what he is on paper, he lacks in action. He's not stepping up to the plate and go, look, here's how we do it. I am part of the 1% and I need to pay my fair share. Here's 52%. I voluntarily relinquish what I think every millionaire should pay. No, he's not doing that.
Right.
That is consistency, and they think they've found a weakness.
Well, the reason why they try to sell that argument as inconsistency is because they want to frame the left as individuals who just hate wealthy people. Like, we just hate wealthy people because it's the thing to do.
Yeah, we don't hate wealthy people. We just want to have the government confiscate a vast majority of their wealth when they get over a certain level. We call it the marginal tax rate. We don't hate them, though. We just sanction robbery and extortion against them. Yeah, that's, Anna, that's hatred. That's hatred. If I want my neighbor to be robbed and I write a bill saying, hey, government, rob my neighbor, and if he resists your confiscation scheme, then you are authorized to throw his ass in a cage. That's hating. It's hating somebody. I'm not saying I'm hating my neighbor, but my actions are saying I'm hating my neighbor. So these people do not understand. They do not understand the difference between morality and immorality. If you want to commit immorality against your neighbor, you're hating your neighbor, period.
But the reality is, I have absolutely no negative feelings toward wealthy people who want to pay their fair share.
Who want to pay their fair share. And who determines what that fair share is, Anna? What if they don't want their wealth confiscated? Then what are you going to do? You say you're against gun violence, but what ends up happening is if they don't, quote, pay their fair share, men with guns will come to their house and make them pay their fair share. Or bank accounts get frozen, or checks and wages get garnished. This is force. This is literal what they would call gun violence. Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, the Young Turks are for gun violence because if you don't pay what they think is your fair share, men with guns will commit violence on you until you do pay.
Right? And so if you succeeded in your career and you wrote a book and it was successful and people bought it and now you made $1 million off that book, I'm not hating on you. Where I do hate on you is if you pay a smaller percentage of your income in taxes compared to what the middle class and the working class pays.
In other words, where I do hate on you is when you want to keep all that wealth that you generated for yourself. If you want to keep 100% of that wealth, well, that's where I start hating on you. So basically she said, I don't hate the wealthy, but I hate the wealthy. That's exactly what Anna just said.
And so far, Bernie Sanders, regardless of how much money he's made, continues to push for policy that would increase taxes on the wealthy.
Yeah.
He continues to push for policy, but when the rubber meets the road, he does not pay his fair share, which puts Bernie in a bracket, according to what Anna just said, puts Bernie in the bracket of where she starts hating on him. Because, up to this point, Bernie has not paid his fair share. So she is a hypocrite, and she just exposed herself as a hypocrite.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's just funny to me how people penalize other people for their success.
like you're wanting to do at the Young Turks. You want to penalize people for their success. Oh, if you've attained this certain level, or like Alexander Ocasio-Cortez wants to do, if you make over $10 million, that $10 million and first dollar should be taxed at 70% or 90% or whatever. Even if it's 5%, guys, extortion is still extortion. If the thief comes up to you and says, hey, puts a gun in your face, I just want $10 out of your wallet. Just give me $10. Whether he took $10 or $100 or all the money and all your credit cards in your wallet, it was still extortion, and it's still wrong. Just because it's less wrong, or no, it's not less wrong, just because it's less financially harmful if he takes $10 as opposed to taking your entire wallet doesn't make it any less wrong.
When he was like, well, you're in this bracket now or whatever, he worked for that. It's not like he inherited that. A lot of times you're listening to people who are privileged. They've inherited their wealth. They didn't work a day for those dollars.
Like Bernie Sanders, the guy hasn't held down a real job in his entire life. He's always been a part of government. He's always sucked off the government teat. Any dollar that ever flowed into his pocket came from the extorted wealth of tax-paying Americans. Tax-extorted Americans. Theft. The theft of Americans is the reason Bernie had the time to write that book, or those books.
And yet and still, they are pouncing on those of us who do it every day. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that Bernie, I'm going to start doing that. That's how I'm going to start answering questions to people who come.
Yeah, well, that's the only way you can answer a question is to blow them off, because you don't have a sound moral answer. You don't have an answer that corresponds with free market principles. You only have an answer that corresponds with the forced violence, theft, extortion, and coercion of government. That's all you've got.
To me with stupid stuff. That's going to be me.
So
yeah, really fast. I agree. He earned it. And it should be taxed at a much higher rate than it's taxed right now. Bernie, one of the people I like the most in the world, should have twice as high of a top marginal tax rate.
Yeah.
He wouldn't.
Did you hear what he just said? I like Bernie, but I want him to be extorted more because he's earned more. That's not liking somebody, guys. That's hating somebody. I don't even understand how they can't understand this. Hey, come here. I love you. You keep bopping them on the head and stealing stuff, stealing their watch or taking the jewelry out from around their neck. Hey, I love you. Hey, I love you. It's not love. Love is not a word. Love is not I love you. Love is not just a hug. Love is not just a kiss. Love is action. Love is showing that you prefer somebody and you respect them and you don't harm them or steal from them in any way.
Be affected by it much because it affects income over $1 million or more than $1 million, and he barely made more than $1 million. People seem to forget what a marginal tax rate is. But
yeah, see, they try to blow this off like, oh, it's just the marginal tax rate. It's just, we only want 52% from you if you make over $1 million. We only want 70% from you if you make over $10 million. The bottom line is, you guys at the Young Turks and whoever espouses this immoral ideology is espousing theft and extortion. They're okay with it. And yet, if these people went out and extorted people, they'd be thrown in jail. But somehow it's okay for you to do it if you're an agent of government? Insanity.
But it is, again, not inconsistent. And that thing from Bret Baier, I think the reason it gets under my skin so much is more and more.
By the way, you get no points for being consistently immoral.
It's becoming obvious that the sort of cheap partisan tricks that right-wingers use on social media are now all of America.
Yeah.
That they troll on social media to get followings and everything, and now they just appear at congressional testimony. Candace Owens is the expert they call on for a hate crimes meeting. Because
yeah, some more left versus right paradigm stuff, guys. This video is going on pretty long. I don't want to drag this out. The bottom line is they have cult-like eyes as they look at Bernie. They're so far up Bernie's ass they can't see and tell the difference between right and wrong. Extortion is extortion, theft is theft, and you can call it whatever name you want to. You can call it taxation. You can call it a marginal tax rate. The bottom line is you're okay. The Young Turks are okay. Bernie is okay. Cenk Uygur is okay. Ana Kasparian is okay with theft and extortion befalling people who worked hard to earn an income. They're okay with that. And they're also okay with, if you don't pay it, then you will be penalized. You'll either be fined or thrown in a cage. If you continue to resist, you'll be killed. Because we can't have people in our society who aren't willing to pay their fair share, according to the Young Turks, according to Bernie Sanders, according to democratic socialists like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or whoever. I don't care if it's Donald Trump. I don't care if it's fill in the blank. It doesn't matter who it is. If somebody wants to take your wealth, they are sanctioning the practice of immorality against you. And therefore, they're not your friend. They are your enemy. Leave your thoughts about this for the world, the Google Thought Police, and the Young Turks in the comments section below. And I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video. If you guys enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everybody you know. Also, check out over 100 hard-hitting designs in the shirt store, and if you want to support more content, hit me up on Patreon or PayPal. All those links will be in the description and in the pinned comment. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored shadow ban video.